Hey, it's time for another episode of #Event Icons, presented by Endless Events, the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Just follow us on social media to ask questions. Our iconic guests will answer them live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better the conversation. So please help share #Event Icons on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just tell your friends to watch live on any of our social media channels. Now, without any further delay, this is #Event Icons.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. We're here with another episode of #Event Icons. If you're trying to find out where to find us, you can always go to www.event-icons.com. Make sure you're subscribed. Also, you can see every one of our episodes that we push out on our weekly newsletter, so make sure you're subscribed to that as well. But without any further ado, I would love to introduce our guest for today, JC York. Hi, JC. Thanks for joining us.
Sarah. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Oh, I totally forgot it was Friday the 13th. Oh my gosh. It's a little spooky.
Something will go wrong because that would be only fitting. Because it is
only fitting.
After all.
Yeah, 2020 Friday the 13th, I think, is like another level of like Friday the 13th. It's got to be like even worse.
Something.
But no, I'm glad you're here today with me. I'm super excited to talk to you about virtual and hybrid entertainment. And one of the first questions that we usually just ask people to kind of get everything started off is, how did you get into the event space to begin with? And yeah, well, then we'll just go from there.
All right. Well, first off, again, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be part of the Event Icons discussion groups of a return appearance since last year when we were part of Aaliyah Live and discussing all of that.
Right.
But your question, how did I get involved in this? I've always had an acting bug since I was a little kid. So I've always performed and done things on the side of in that regard while I was still working in the regular world. And then one day life turned itself around and I kind of left corporate America and was doing some side work with a business partner of mine now, Scott Andre, with Wise Guys Interactive Entertainment. And we kind of took a chance back in 2005 to say, okay, I'm going to leave corporate America behind and I'm going to do this full time and try to expand our business and do what we were doing. And so that's how Wise Guys continue to grow. Scott actually started that back in the 80s and I joined with him in 2005. And then this November, we're in November. So 6 years ago now, I joined my other business partner, Alan Ariano, with Classic Entertainment, and we've merged our companies together and focused on that. So it's been a great ride. I love what I do. It gives me the ability to still plan and be an event planner in that regard of producing events. But at the same time, I get to perform, and I love that. And it's the greatest thing that I factor into my job. And what keeps me wanting to continue to doing all the paperwork and the contracts and the payroll and the insurance, all that stuff plays into a part, but ultimately it's because I get to perform still.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, no, even just 5 seconds into talking to you, I was like, he has to have some sort of theater background. I feel like you project, you're very lively. So I'm like, yeah, he has to like some sort of acting. I knew that was in there somewhere. So definitely could tell you're a natural performer, but no, that's awesome. And especially like we can just kind of dive right into our topic of this virtual entertainment and hybrid entertainment. And obviously you got into the space when it looked a whole lot different. This year, I think just rocked everyone's world. So what are some of the like key differences that you're seeing from, how entertainment's kind of playing out in this virtual world?
Well, I think people have realized that there are certain aspects of entertainment that one still has to be in person. There are certain things that I miss being able to perform for because there are just things that have to be at live events. To that, though, we have discovered that there are plenty of things that we do that can still be done virtually. Just like anything else in the event world, it takes planning, but doesn't remove the fact that we still can't be very entertaining in a virtual world.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think there's just different nuances. I think people are kind of adopting different tips and different ways to kind of engage the audience. Has there been anything that you've seen that kind of keeps the audience, alive and really engaged in, speakers and content and things like that have you seen work personally? Is everyone still kind of trying to navigate that, you think?
I think both. I think there are things that have already come to pass that have worked. And then there's others who are still trying to figure out what's the next best thing and how to move things on. One of the current things that I'm working on right now is doing virtual Santa Claus. There are a lot of people who just this year, based on things as now we're getting closer to Thanksgiving, and there's some states who say, hey, we know it's Thanksgiving, but try your best not to even do family gatherings. The next big thing is in-person Santa Clauses, because that's just a tradition. And how do we navigate around that? So I've actually had some friends reach out to me because I did it back at Easter with the Easter Bunny, if I was willing to do some virtual Santa Claus visits. So I'll be doing some Santa Claus visits via green screen and virtual right here from the confines of my North Pole in Florida. So I'll be really cold. I'll have to turn my air conditioning down that day. But it's a good aspect. I think there's people are learning how to be able to do that virtually. As for bringing things into the meeting spectrum for things, I think it's a nice change of pace. People have been what we now call Zoom fatigued or zoomed out. And it doesn't matter what format you're using. I mean, Zoom, it's just kind of like making a copy of Xerox. Oh, no, it's the broadcast that you're using, but still everyone's zoomed out. So how do you engage that? And we've come up with dropped in virtual characters. So we've had the ability to, during somebody's meeting, to be able to kind of Zoom bomb them, pre-planned, of course, with a character. It doesn't necessarily need to be holiday related, but now as holidays are coming up, we want to do it with the Grinch and Scrooge or even Santa Claus. The Grinch and Scrooge are great because they're perfect characters to come in and cancel your holiday party. So it's fun to jump on a call, cancel it, but then let them know, okay, well, maybe next year if they work hard, they'll get it back. Because it's a fun way of just letting you know, hey, we'll be back. And you know, I think a big part of this is understanding the fact that we will be back. If anything else, people have discovered we need face-to-face meetings. We as a society are creatures of habit. And one of those things that we're habit to is meeting face-to-face, wanting to get in person. So I think that's still going to be a big trend next year. Will be hybrid meetings. But when we have the ability to meet face-to-face, we'll be back. And we'll be back, I think, stronger than ever because people have missed this. But to answer your question, I have noticed a lot of different things that have come up through meetings. A lot of it has been musical acts or performances that can be done as a more of a cirque type of show, something that you would watch. But the ability to do it live is great. And here's the key. It's not live. A lot of it's already pre-produced. But you record in a live setting. You record that it is going to be live so that when you switch over, it's just a quick switch over. And people at home don't know whether you're switching to a pre-recording or switching over to a different studio. And that's the key. And that's the trick is to record so that it feels like you're recording live that moment. We did I'm part of the Search Foundation Board of Directors, and we did that with our Search from Home event this past summer. We had a lot of performers who acted and performed for us live. So there was some stuff live. There was some things pre-recorded. Audience had no idea which one was which. And that's a big key for the audience and the attendees to realize that they don't realize what's going on. What they don't know, they don't know. And so what you as a planner or the person who's putting on the conference or the customer feels very confident because everything's already been done. They've seen it, and it does have that ability to go through. What I recommend, though, is to have some of that entertainment involved, but then also have a live person doing the MC, the introductions, the banter, because then they truly can't tell because that conversation's happening live. It's like you and I are having a live conversation, and now we're going to go live over to the Studio B, and here's our performers, and Studio B's pre-recorded. And I think that's a trick. But you and I bantering back and forth gives the element of true live nature. And I think that's what captures people versus just watching another video.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. So many awesome little nuggets of information. So yeah, going back to even like the virtual Santa Claus and the characters, I think that's such an exciting thing too, because there was a webinar that I attended a few months back where a lot of them were saying catching people by surprise. Yeah. If you have someone, come into a Zoom meeting or something, like go across the screen, it really does, kind of shake things up from your normal boxes and, talking and things like that. So I think that's awesome. And even bringing in the Grinch element element of canceling Christmas, I think is brilliant. And that's something too that I know a lot of planners are interested in. And we have a event prof Slack group that we created because of the pandemic and because of everything going on. And that was actually something that I saw in there. So I definitely see the need for it. And I think now, especially, like, what a better time to kind of experiment with things like that. There's really nothing to lose. I think, especially now in companies and meetings, people are kind of just wanting anything. So I think as long as you like show that you're trying and giving that effort, people are definitely receptive to that right now.
Right. And especially since some of it is our hands are tied. It's not our decision to not get together. It's not our decision that travel has been banned or suppressed at the moment. Yeah, we could travel, but companies can't get behind a travel program right now. They can't necessarily put people in this thing. Now, I live in Florida where it's full anarchy over here and everything's open full regard. But still, I was at a conference last month, and it was extremely well done conference. It was done with full protocol. So even though the state was fully opened and our governor has let everything go to full capacity, doesn't mean that your business has to adhere to that. You could set your own protocols. And I love the fact that they did do just that. They set their own protocols. They held them in check. Security, temperature checks, even on-site testing for COVID, spatial recognition so that people were spaced properly, mask mandate. So it was done very well. And it's still hard to interact and get engagement, but that's the same thing that we're talking about, like you said, in the group, where people, you got to get the unexpected. And that's what we do. I mean, when with my company, part of our focus is interactive entertainment, and you can't get away from interactive. Interactivity is what makes it live. It's what makes it fun. Now, can you do this over a computer screen? Sure can. You and I are talking. We're engaging. Right. But now let's flip it in and throw a character in there, and all of a sudden, now we have something different. It's a new element. And then we'd like to take things to the next step. And that's where it's beyond virtual. And it's when you still need to, we are going to start meeting. So let's future cast and go into 2021, and we are going to still have some face-to-face. But how do you do entertainment safely? Well, one of the products that we love to have is it's called Interact TV. So it's live digital animation. We have animated characters that we are now conversing with. So you could put them on a big screen. You can make them the virtual MC of the event. So they're on the big screens, or a TV for entering, exiting a trade show area, or just a common area. And it's the person's talking to a television set. They're talking to a character. Now we're hidden off to the screen, just like this is set up with cameras and microphones. But it's a fun way to engage live, but then have the distance. Like, yeah, we're there so that, there's no tech issues. Because like you said, all of a sudden our tech drops out. I mean, that's the biggest fear. My biggest fear of doing something live is that my internet goes out. Or 2 days ago, we could have been spotty because I had a tropical storm passing through my area. So I don't know if I'm going to have power. I don't know. And all of a sudden I drop off. How do I know? And so that's my biggest fear through technology of doing something live, but you never know the elements. But when you're on site, then it's great. Then I could go ahead and said, comment you on your glasses. And now you're looking around going, how did I, as a character on the TV, as let's say we have one of our characters is a fish. So tropical theme stuff, we have fish. So all of a sudden the fish talks to you and say, oh, I like your glasses. And now you're looking around going, wait, who said that? And it's me, the character right in front of you on TV. Right. But it's an element of having the back and forth. You cannot replicate this. There's no way to replicate virtually something pre-recorded to have live interaction. Right. So even though there are things that are going to be changing in the future, I still think you have to go back to basics and realize certain entertainment has to still be certain entertainment. And there's nothing better than live interaction, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think that's something too, where I didn't even think about that we think how in-person and virtual are melding right now, as we're just thinking about us on our computer screens, and that's kind of how it's like, molding into our personal lives. But I love the idea of some sort of virtual character coming in an in-person meeting, and that being, MC, and they can banter back and forth and have some really cool pre-recorded, type of banter back and forth that it's rehearsed and it's awesome, but totally unexpected to the audience. Exactly. It kind of is Disney-esque in a way. It reminds me of just those things that just surprise and delight the audience that they weren't expecting. Is really cool, pretty easy to, kind of get together with all of our technology at our fingertips right now, but just something that they would talk about forever after that event.
Yeah, and what we call that is a lot of that is scripted improv. So we have a loose base script, and let's say you're going to be on stage, you're the MC or you're the person that's running the meeting, but now I pop up on the big screen, and now you're having a conversation with a three-dimensional character on a screen. So they're not there next to you. You're actually talking to the person on the screen, and we're going back and forth on things that have happened. That's why it's called scripted improv. We know where we're going, but sometimes you have to adjust on something that just happened. So that's the fun part. So you and I have a base script. We know we're going to go A to Z, but everything in between is up for grabs.
Right.
So that we have the ability to adjust and comment on something. If something just funny happened or someone just won an award and there's a congratulations, everyone has seen digital animated characters on screen before. That's nothing new. Animation is fantastic. There's some high level animation that makes it seem that it's a real person and everything is phenomenal. The difference is a lot of that is pre-recorded. The live element, getting a performer. And here's the thing, it's one person. It's myself and my business partner or someone like that who comes to the event, works with the script, work it outline, and it's great. And there's a lot of performers who can do this, and it is very Disney. Some of our performers we've had have worked at Disney and like at the Laugh Factory with Monsters, Inc. or with Crush with Turtle Talk. Yeah, we have these performers who have worked with us before to provide these elements. I got to do a fun event about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, where instead of just a meet and greet character, they brought me into the main room to enhance the fact of where they're going later. So their after party was this whole Alice in Wonderland theme event. Oh, wow. Where I generally am in the entranceway because I have a wonderful Cheshire Cat character. But to make the room fun and to change it up for them because they were very, very cookie cutter. They knew exactly what they did. They went in for dinner, they had the awards, they went out. Well, we had the character and they had a great MC. This guy was with the company, but he was extremely funny and very easygoing. So him and I started some bantering, and the people who ran the company were there going, oh, okay, wait, we need to add more. Because they had me in for like 3 segments. And so they said, oh, during dinner, can you come back on maybe 5 minutes before we go and start roasting the crowd? So they gave me a bunch of people to highlight, and I got to roast these people in front of everybody. They of course, picked people with good sense of humor. And because I know levels, I didn't do anything inappropriate. It was just what had happened. And this guy did this wonderful cartwheel during the stage. And when I say wonderful, I'm being very sarcastic. I mean, the guy practically fell on his face when he was going across stage, accept his award. So to be able to call that guy out, and like I called him out, said, who was the guy that did that cartwheel? And he stood up on his chair, and I told him not to quit his day job. I mean, everyone laughed. So I mean, it was fun things like that. And so you can't replace that. That's there. So again, we call it scripted improv because it's not just free will. It's not like, as we discussed before we went on air, about winging it. It is truly that we have a plan of action, but you have that element to swing in. So there are a lot of different things that can be done. And it's not just a character. That goes with numerous wonderful acts like 3 waiters, song division, people who can think of things right at their fingertips. There are amazing performers like that. Full integration of party bands. That still works. Mentalists think people are realizing that mentalism is not just here's another magician. There's something great behind it. And there are many wonderful performers out there that can perform great tricks, even virtually. So, I mean, you imagine that. You having a full crowd who's doing something, and now this person pops up on your screen and is live somewhere, but they're interacting with the people that are live in your event. Again, there's a lot of hybrid stuff coming through, but I've seen some great acts done even from people sitting in their living rooms.
Yeah, you mentioned song division. Those are one of the first, people that come to mind because, they're so quick on their feet and things like that. And for a lot of maybe planners or people that are, it seems like that would take a lot of work or skill. It's not as easy as just like popping up on a Zoom call. And so I think it's kind of refreshing actually, because I think sometimes we've fallen back into kind of lazy content. I think sometimes people are like, oh, I can just pop on a screen, say a few words, not really have a plan, and just go for it. And that's great if you're someone that's, an improv expert or a mentalist or someone that can think on their feet. But I think a lot of people are just kind of having that mindset where they're like, oh, I'm not going to have any idea of where this is going to go. And we're just going to go for it. And I'm going to say a few words and call it a presentation. And I think we're kind of seeing that isn't really working and that people are craving more. And I use this quote almost all the time, but I was one of the webinars that I was attending. They said something or like, people are tolerant of, if you have bad internet. Yes, that one's kind of bad because obviously it shuts down the whole thing, but people have probably experienced that themselves, so they have some empathy there. People also like little kids in the backgrounds or dogs barking. People, I think, are definitely tolerant of that, but they're definitely not tolerant of, having their time be wasted. I think if someone's going to show up and spend an hour on their computer, I think they want to be delighted and have that experience that, kind of catches them off guard, like you said. So I think those are, amazing ways to do that and to surprise people in ways that they weren't expecting necessarily when they were hopping onto a Zoom call.
Oh, and absolutely. And I think it also, to all the planners, not to default them or even our customers, but it goes back to show there's value to hiring professionals, just like anything else. And we as artists are exactly that. We're professionals. We've been doing this a long time. We put a lot into our trade craft. I mean, yes, I am an artist. I like to consider myself an artist before I'm a business person, because again, I love to perform. I wish I could sing, but I just don't have that in me. I just don't have that ability, and I don't play a musical instrument. So I've never been with the bands, but I've worked with a lot of bands. I go back to my college days to working with bands in LA. But there's a level of professionalism that is adhered to for what we've done as a trade craft. And it's nice to see that there are people realizing that it's not just, like you said, throw anything up on screen and people will be entertained. There's got to be a certain level, and you should be reaching out to those professionals who you've known in the past. The main thing about this industry that I've always loved, and why I'm in so many different associations and support this industry for so long, is because of the relationships. I think that's the number one factor of what we do. We support each other. If it's not more evident this year than any other year that we can't do it alone, that we have to come together, that we have to support each other, it's this year. And to go ahead and continue to do that, I'd hope that all the relationships we've built in the past, or even met somebody brand new to start a relationship, is just this. It's like, okay, we need to support those and support each other, because this is what's going to elevate. You want to ask about what's going to elevate the virtual aspect to the next level. It's that. It's working with the people you know and the people who are going to deliver a wonderful product. One of the things that I've discovered that came out new this year was another colleague of mine based in Orlando who I've worked with, and they've got a wonderful interactive. It could be done as a team building, or it could be just done as fun. It's kind of a murder mystery, but it's a murder mystery that's done live, so that people can log in from their home, from their living rooms. Everyone gets a computer, and it's kind of like a mixture of Clue and a murder mystery, but with live actors performing roles. So it's a brand new, wonderful concept. It's great that I partnered up with them to be able to offer that to some of my clients, but they are fantastic. It's such a wonderful new experience. And that's one of the ways, like you said, what's new? Well, that is one, and it's phenomenal, and they do a great job. And for me, it warms my heart, because it's performers in Central Florida who've gotten beaten over pretty well. I mean, obviously, a lot of performers, no matter where you are in the country, you're getting beat up because there's not work. But obviously, within Southern California, Disney and Universal out there, and all the parks in Central Florida and Orlando and Tampa Bay area have also been hit pretty well. Right. So there's a lot of it in that regard. And same thing up in New York and Broadway. I mean, Broadway's closed till next July, I think, and that just saddens the heart, just as a person who enjoys theater. But again, there are new avenues, and I think part of that is stuff like that.
Agreed. Yeah. And I just think it's beautiful too that you mention relationships and that with people. And that's kind of just been a reoccurring theme, very accidentally, with all these Event Icons episodes. We, really intentionally wanted to bring back old guests and see, how pivoting was. So we really expected to hear that word all the time, and, everything going virtual. But something that I wasn't expecting was almost every single person has brought up the relationships and leaning on each other, and building each other up. And I love that support of artists even. That's something that I didn't even really think about, in the event space, to really incorporate that and give, some artists a chance to perform and get a job again, and, really just be, hone their craft in a different way. It probably looks very different and not what they're used to, but I think that's awesome to incorporate that into events. I did also want to ask what your thoughts were on if there was any other part that you would recommend to do live. I know you said the banter is really important, and obviously some of these performers, but do you think it's like that's a good balance to kind of just do those things live and the rest pre-recorded, or have you seen it other things work well in the past?
I've seen both. The idea again about the pre-record aspect is so that you don't run into technical issues. Also, to be honest, when you're doing music, it's great to have a pre-recorded segment because they could balance levels, they could balance their lighting, and you know, you're not going to have those glitches, because the last thing you want to do is be freaking out at home when you're trying to run your software into a meeting and you have 1,000 attendees actually attending your event, and all of a sudden the band doesn't play, or the band's going and there's no music falling through, and you're like, okay, you're screaming and you're pulling your hair out. So again, there are safety catches about doing certain things pre-recorded. The idea, like you said, about doing certain things live, yeah, it is integration. It's how to integrate something different. I mean, you can't get away from the get-go. Take entertainment away. People are still coming for content. They're not coming necessarily to entertain. If they're going to be entertained, I'm sorry, they're going to go watch, Disney Plus, Netflix, TV in general. That's where they get that. If they're going to sit in front of a screen, they're going to watch things that they enjoy naturally. And trust me, I want to be out there working and doing things. I'm a performer. So then for every other performer out there, we all want to be working. It's what we do for a living. And when I say living, it's not just because it does the paycheck. It's truly what we love to do. So the elements that need to be live still within context of a meeting time frame or an event is to bring in that unknown. And like you said, it's that surprise element. It's something different. A long time ago, when I first started joining, one of the things we called it was a purple elephant. Like, you're going to remember the purple elephant. So the next day, what's the thing you're going to remember? You're going to remember, do you remember that purple elephant that walked in the room? and that's another thing we talk about. It's about, what's water cooler talk. What are you talking about the next day? Yeah. And that's what we have always tried to strive with entertainment. And it's not just exclusive to my company or it's a couple other companies. It's performance wide. Any of the performers always want to leave that lasting impression. We don't go in and just to perform for the performance. I mean, there are people at that point, but I really think that's a major minority of performers. I think performers want to go and just entertain. We love to make people laugh and feel something and smile. And that's that element. So to bring that into the event space is great. So whether it be, again, it could be a 5-minute segment, it could be a 30-second thing. But all of a sudden, if something happened and you're expecting, okay, we had to cancel this, we had to cancel that. And now all of a sudden, let's say we're going to Texas next year for our annual retreat, or the annual conference is going to be in Texas. Well, all of a sudden, if a cowboy character came on screen and there's Clint Eastwood, chomping on a cigar on your screen and welcoming everybody to go to Texas next year to come, see something, that's different. And I want people to realize that, just like I've always said to anybody, that one character can make a difference at an event. Even if it's just a meet and greet person at the door, that one element can make a big difference. Same thing here. Even if it's for a 30-second segment, a 1-minute segment, that can make all the difference to something for people to remember. You want to activate the mind. And trust me, we've all been told how long that, just on a normal day, we shouldn't be sitting in front of our computers for more than 45 minutes without taking our eyes off the screen and walking around. I mean, honestly, they tell you to take your eyes off screen a lot more than 45 minutes, but they say get up every 45 minutes and walk around. So here we have had these Zoom meetings and these conferences and everything else, and you're sitting at your computer for 4 straight hours. And the breaks that they give you is just not long enough to maybe run to the bathroom and get a new cup of water or a cup of coffee. Yep. And then you're back in front of the computer. So you still, the one thing, you've got the blood pumping, great, they got up, but what are you not activating? You're not activating up here. And that's where a lot of entertainment comes in. And that's why I would encourage anybody, reach out to your local performers, reach out to people that you have performed with and you have used in the past, and activate them. Have them come on, ask them, what can you do? What's something that we are creative minds. And so that's the idea when I came up with thinking about dropping in on Zoom calls as Scrooge or Grinch, because we have the holiday season here, and ask people, why aren't they working? Because that's a Scrooge thing to do. He wouldn't let a pandemic stop them from working. He'd demand people to be working.
I love that.
And stuff like that. So even if it's a 1-minute bit, it's going to be something different. And that's my challenge out to everybody out there when you're thinking about these things. Unfortunately, a lot of times, at least in my findings over the years, that entertainment is one of the last things added and it's one of the first things cut. And so I would challenge people to go back to where it was when, budgets were prosperous and everyone was having things where you'd almost design things around entertainment. Am I being selfish because it's entertainment? It's what I do for a living? Yes, I am. I'm going to admit it. I'm not hiding an agenda here. It's what I'm saying to do. But in the regard is like you have time to fit it in. There is space to fit it in. And it does play a vital part of it. I mean, you can even get into some part where it's edutainment. So edutainment is education and entertainment. You're finding a new way to bring things to light. And I think that is an element that a lot of performers do have out there that they can't integrate into a conference or a meeting or whatever it is. You have some fun things. And I know you're going to possibly have some corporate events coming up that are going to be corporate virtual parties. We're going to have a happy hour. We're going to do this thing. So I'm going to challenge again, all planners out there, if you're working with somebody, or even the people who aren't planners and they're just working with your company, or your company is tuning in because you're looking for something different. That's something different. Reach out to a performer. Find out how they could come and be part of your happy hour, your holiday party virtually, and just spice something up. Do something different. We're talking about being divergent thinkers. We're talking about thinking outside the box. Well, we're in the boxes. You and I are in a box right now. Well, I've got my side of the screen. You've got your screen. We can't be any more in a box than there. However, look, I mean, I've got a green screen behind me. All of a sudden, I'm on the Sanctum Sanctorum with Doctor Strange. I mean, we have capabilities to do something fun. Oh, now I'm fuzzy.
Oh, wow.
The elements, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think that's the fun thing about it. I mean, that's what's kept me positive through all of this. And then the mindset you have it is that we're going to do now. And now's now. Now's not tomorrow. Now's not the future. Now's not the past. Now's now. We will get to the future. And the future may be a lot of hybrid for the next year or two. But beyond that, we will get back to live performances in face. I know I've said this before. I'll guarantee that in 2022, because I doubt it's really going to be 2021, sadly, but I say in 2022, concerts will be back. The music industry will be back, and they will have the highest ticket sales in the history of recorded music because people love music and they're going to just want to go back to that.
Yep.
And I think that is going to be something just that shows that we need that as a not even as a society, just as a personal need. There's need.
Yeah.
Ask the people to tune in right now. I guarantee you, who would love to go to a music concert right now?
Oh, I'm definitely a part of that. I am a huge music lover. I miss it. I'm itching to go to one. I probably way prematurely bought tickets to go to Outside Lands 2021. I sadly don't think it's even going to happen, but I want it to happen.
You gotta hope. You gotta
hope.
I watched it was a couple days ago, but I ended up catching it last night. I watched the induction of the 2020 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class.
Oh, wow.
Listening to the music and listening to some of these artists that I have heard for years, who I've been fans of, and some people I've never heard of. And to listen to the creative nature of these performers and just listening to music again, going, wow, I miss live music. I miss that element. And I think, music is going to come back bigger and stronger. I think that's why bands, virtually are still doing very well, that they have studio setups that they can perform because they're still performing live music for your people. And I think that's a very big element that still exists.
Agreed. Yeah, no, first off too, I love the transparency when you were like, oh no, I mean, I'm in the entertainment business, but I definitely think that there's so much validity to it being important. Even just talking about, the Scrooge bits or live music, I just lit up. It makes me smile. It makes me excited to think about those things being intertwined into, these virtual meetings or even in the hybrid space, like you were saying. And it's just something that makes me excited, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. So
Absolutely.
The next thing that I would like to ask is, so we kind of talk about next year, kind of your predictions on 2022, but with everything exponentially growing, it's probably really hard to think about this, but what are your predictions for 2030? Say we're a decade away from this crazy year. How do you think we're going to continue pushing the boundaries, and what do you think is going to be next, even after everything post-pandemic?
All right, so post-pandemic, 10 years from now, I mean, yes, I do believe that we'll finally have the holographic projection of Tupac to be at your event. I think that will truly come into form where he looks three-dimensional. I mean, technology is going to still have an impact to live performance. There's no way around it. We've gotten better with green screen and the ability to think about where we were when Total Recall came out. The original with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then think about when T2 came out and the elements there, and then the Matrix. The technology that's out there is fantastic for entertainment. It just only enhances what we can do. Like I said, I'm doing live digital animation now with some characters. It's digital puppetry. Some of it's old school looking on purpose. Some of it's modern day. And I can see that continuation happening. I think stuff like we're doing, we're going to advance the fact that, yes, some of us are using laptop computers or external computers with our rings of light over here and our green screen technology that we all now have at home. I mean, think about this. This wasn't available, years ago to us. We'd be trying to figure out, what are we doing? So I only see that enhancing. However, I think what this has done, what the pandemic has done to us, is shown more than anything, regardless of that. And we've watched future movies. We've seen it in iRobot, where, robots do a lot of stuff for us. There's the human element that just cannot be replaced. And WALL-E, for example, when all the people that sat in their little chairs and roamed around watching television all the time. This, if anything, the pandemic has shown the need for personal interaction. And I can only see in 10 years from now, that not going away. That's still being stronger than ever. I don't know what format they're going to look at it in. Maybe we're all sitting in our own theaters at home, but we're watching live performances. I don't think live performance is going to go away. I mean, look at what happened with Disney Plus when they released Hamilton. I mean, people forget, it's all Hamilton. Yeah, but they were still performing on the stage. It was in front of a live audience. It's still live theater. People love that. You can't change live. You can't get away from true human nature, which is in a performance. And that just comes from me as an artist. I don't care if it's acting. I don't care if it's music. Any type of performance, you can't take away the human element to that. And I think more than anything now in 2020, we've all desired that. We've all are hoping to get back to it sooner than later. So 10 years from now, I see it just being just as strong now than it is ever to be in front of people live.
I love that. I think that's so true. And I just love how you've kind of redefined this idea of entertainment and what it means to have that human connection, and not necessarily, completely getting rid of technology. I love that you think there's a space for it and the integration of it. But I think you're right that, people are really craving being around each other and having that, shared experience with each other, whatever that may look like in whatever medium that looks like. So I love that you've touched on that. I know.
I mean, hopefully there's maybe at least one person actually watching live, but it'll be recorded later on. But still, I mean, people are watching us.
Exactly.
Hopefully a little slightly entertaining, some informative, but people are watching you and I engage live. We may be in two different areas, but we're still in our boxes, but we're still engaging.
Right.
And people are watching that. And so there is elements to that, because you can't replace. This isn't a pre-recorded conversation. We're doing this right off the cuff. Yep. We said no scripts, no nothing. We don't know what's coming. And it's the fun part. You can't get away from that. We desire it. And that's the fun part. I look at it. It's a desire. We as a people desire that. We need it. So it makes me have hope. It makes me feel confident that, yes, while I've spent many months not performing, I did get to go perform a couple weeks ago because, Florida let some things up, and people had a small little wedding. And I got to go have fun at a Halloween-themed wedding reception.
Oh, wow. That sounds like my dream.
It was amazing. Okay, so this is even better. We got hired to play creepy clowns.
Oh, whoa.
So first of all, people hate clowns. Then second of all, we're now creepy clowns. And so we got to go as the reception is happening. And the room was decked out beautifully. I mean, the people who, the wedding planner was amazing. The decor was on point, that really embraced this couple's love for Halloween. So all their families and friends, again, smaller group. And that was nice. It was a very intimate wedding because of, this was planned way back when you had only a certain amount of people that could attend an event. Right. And even though the protocols opened up, they didn't change their count. They kept it very small. And it was fun. And so they had this room decked out where there was a graveyard, and that's where the DJ was. And they had a beautiful set up with like pre-recorded paintings that would change from a regular painting to a person in a skeleton and have that interact. Wow. There was a nice little fireplace set up there. Then they had the Clown Carnival. And so so everyone saw it, but they didn't know there were actually going to be live, creepy clowns coming in. So to be able to come in and scare some people, and you just could, it was just so much fun to go perform again. It was a blast.
Oh, I bet. No, that sounds
and honestly, it was safe because I'm wearing two masks. I had a mask underneath and I've got a mask above. So, we were having fun. We had this wonderful mask elements. So it's without having to wear like one of those, K9 ones. We didn't have the normal mask. We were wearing stuff underneath our costuming. But and that was my first performance since March 17th. So since
wow.
Day, that was my first actual. And again, it was a blip. It's a blip on the radar. A couple events that night, and now I'm waiting to do some things in December. But because we are doing some smaller events, but because we're not stopping.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Let's integrate and work some things out and move on for the future. But you're not going to replace the human element. I don't care what person comes and says what. I know we're getting closer with AI and smart with the artificial intelligence out there in the world. But regardless of anything, we're human, and that's never going to go away.
Yeah, agreed. And even to answer your question where you said people are watching us, actually we got a comment in Rebecca Llewellyn, if I'm saying that right. She said, I'm excited for the next 10 years, bringing people together and new tech, especially as tech becomes more affordable. And I think a lot of people share that same excitement. I think, we are going to do better. I think it's going to keep progressing. People are going to keep one-upping themselves, and it's just ultimately going to be a better experience for everyone involved. So I think that's something that's really exciting. As we kind of wrap up too, I just want to let you have the last word and give one final tip to event planners. If you could say anything to all the event planners right now and they would follow your advice, what would you say to them?
Don't be afraid is my biggest advice to people. Whether it's an entertainment element, whether it's technology, whether it's trying to push the envelope with something you've never tried before, you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. We're going to have to be, for a little while longer, we're going to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And we're going to have to try some things. And some things aren't going to work. They're just not going to work. We're going to have concepts and ideas that just aren't going to work. And then I would say, I know it's one piece of advice, but it follows in. Listen to the professionals. Listen to your team. If you go to somebody and say, oh, I think this would work, and they tell you, we don't think it's going to work, they might have the experience to know why it won't work. So embrace it, challenge yourselves, convince your clients that it's worth it, that there are changes out there. I think hybrids are going to stay around for quite a while, but you're going to reach people you never were going to reach before who can now be engaged in the entertainment or event altogether.
Awesome. What perfect words to end up on. JC, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone who joined in and popped in and out, thank you so much. And even our people who commented, it was awesome to see that engagement. Hopefully we offered a little bit of entertainment and excitement for you guys today and your Friday. But if you want to keep finding us on Event Icons, make sure that you go to www.event-icons.com and we'll have all of JC's info, and all of this lovely episode will be on a blog, and then we can also share all of his information so you guys can find him and Classic Entertainment, and we'll continue just sharing all of our knowledge with all of you. So JC, again, thank you so much, and to everyone out there, bye, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of #Event Icons. To catch all of the bonus content, resources mentioned, and an invite to our Facebook and LinkedIn groups, head to www.event-icons.com. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway, and just tag your social media posts with #Event Icons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon, right here on #Event Icons.